Everyone, we are here with an amazing human being, Aamir Kadri, entrepreneur, artist, and a fellow AI nerd who loves to get his hands dirty. Aamir, it's an absolute honor having you here. I am really looking forward to our chat. Now, just so the audience knows you, please tell us about yourself.
So technically, I wouldn't call myself an artist because I just don't know any art. But I started out with 3D and multimedia way back, and I used to do all this, these websites, and I taught 3D for a bit, and that's how I, got my hands dirty and started in the computing industry way back. It wasn't technological implementations and stuff, but I had fun. Then I worked with a few startups doing project management for a few applications, and then I worked with a company, and we did digital diagnostics and maturity models and analytics for large enterprise, and that was fun. I learned a lot, and then I, thought, let me start consulting SaaS companies and stuff. And that's when the AI stuff happened as well. So, that's where I got into generative AI and mainly visual generative AI, which I found I like doing. I think it's also because I used to, and I still love photography. I used to do a lot of photography, but then that took a backseat for a while. But I think AI, all of the ability to generate images kind of, brought that spark back to life that, hey, I can just create something or the other. Maybe it's nonsensical, but I can create something sitting at my computer. And that's, part of my journey so far.
So you are the perfect person to answer this. Let's cut right to the chase. Since you are both in the AI space and the business space, a question everybody asks that I get a lot: is AI coming for our jobs?
Yes, I mean, there's no doubt about it, right?
Okay, tell us
Not
more,
for
please.
every, not for everyone's jobs, but a lot of people have been at the fringes of things. A lot of outsourced jobs, or people who don't have core competencies, or people who are not willing to upskill. Think of a
Okay.
lot of people as Fiverr artists, for example, those who want to do quick illustrations. So people used to go to Fiverr for that. But right now you can do anything on Microsoft Designer or Canva, or you can generate something in Midjourney or Ideogram or Dali, and and of course our Stable Diffusion. So all those things are at risk, because why would I, go ahead and pay hundreds of dollars to a company again and again when I can just do that with a subscription or even for free in-house? That's one aspect. A lot of customer success and customer support and customer experience jobs are going to be at risk because of the nature of LLMs and the way they do things. Sure, there are hallucinations and other things, problem areas with LLMs, but overall, when it comes to information retrieval, those jobs are definitely going to be affected. Programming, not so much just yet. Chat GPT can code. It's horrible code from whatever I've understood from my fellow, the scientists that I interact with, or the
There are
data
some
science
that are
people.
better. Claude, in my opinion, is quite good, but you're right. It's not going to be a senior developer.
So yes, a person who wants to create an MVP can do that on their own, which is a
Right.
big benefit.
Right.
But if you need to refine that, you'll still need a software engineer to build the entire
Absolutely.
architecture and the entire thing you're building an
Absolutely.
application. But and that boils down to, yes, AI might be taking away some of your jobs, but if you can upskill, if you know what you are doing, and if you get in the right frame of mind and approach these challenges, there's no reason why you can't keep up with the times.
I think you just summarized things in a beautiful way. Is AI coming for your jobs? Yes. If you are not willing to upscale yourself. I think that is wonderfully put. Well,
Thanks.
that begs the question then, how does one upscale himself or herself?
Let me ask you a question, Beck.
Of course.
Uh, Beck. Beck. Okay. So the question is, how did you learn about stable diffusion?
Ooh, how did I learn about stable diffusion? Well, besides the fact that I'm a huge nerd, um,
Yes.
I like data science, I like machine learning, I like tech. So what did I do? I got on YouTube. I watched everything that I could get my hands on. I spoke to
Yes.
people. I got on Discord. I experimented. I failed a lot. Somewhere along the line, I created my own style of how I train things and how I do AI. Maybe it's image diffusers, and maybe it's language models, and maybe it's some quirky piece of code with Python. And I kind of had my own signature to it. But the point is, I just got curious and I watched lots of things. I read lots of things. I talked to lots of people, and off I went. So,
Love this. And that is me in a nutshell as well. How do I? So when Dali released, right, Dali 2, I was blown away. They had, I don't know, 25 free generations, a month or 20, I forgot. But anyway, I love that. And I was trying out random things. And then Mid Journey came out with their 25 free generations, and I used those up in a day. And I just saw what people were doing. This was Mid Journey 2, I think, way back in 2022. Then SD came out with 1.4 and I was hooked. So I
Mm,
used the Google Colab. And just like you, I started learning on my own. What does this setting do? What's a CFG? What do steps do? So the default notebook had 200 steps and I didn't know what that was. I had to read about that. I had to read about all of these things. And then I did those local implementations. I knew nothing about Python really. But then I learned how to install Python, how to pull from Git, and
beautiful.
now Git pulls are. So you have to learn these things. You have to upskill regardless of where you are in life. Sure, you can get someone to do those things for you, and that's why people like us, consultants like us, will get paid, because people don't want to put in the effort of learning. They see
Ah,
something and they say, yeah, we want this stuff, can you do that stuff for me? And yes, I can, and I'm going to charge you for that, because
okay.
it's
Yeah.
not easy. And that's what happens. I saw Sebastian Kamp's last to last video,
Hmm.
and there's this guy Furkan, we both know him. And people scream about, hey, these guys are charging, but knowledge isn't always free, right? They spent the same time that we did, that all of our Gen AI nerds spent learning these things by ourselves. What are the nuances of this? What does a setting do? What's a clip skip do? What does anything do for that matter? So you got to keep learning these things. YouTube, and coming back to your question, sorry, I got
No, no, it's okay.
sidetracked.
This is a great segue. Yeah.
So YouTube, hundreds of tutorials there, re-entry, and there are so many other resources online that point you to what any software does. Ton of info, all for free. And if you want to get into prompt engineering or AI in general, there are free courses from Google, from IBM, and a ton of other companies. And those courses are for free. You can just start in anywhere you want. It's never been easier to learn if you want to learn.
Thank you. Yeah. So wonderfully said. So wonderfully said. And there is one more thing I want to add to that. You mentioned Sebastian Kampf. You mentioned Furkan Gözükara. If they're watching, by the way, what's up, guys? Both of them I admire very, very much. Furkan is somebody I know on a more personal basis. One of the things that I was blown away by is just how giving the AI community is, and just how giving, especially the open source community is, right? So, for example, I learned Stable Diffusion much more deeply before even getting my hands on Dolly, actually, or really doing much with Midjourney, because here's this open source code that I can pop open. I can I can follow, whether or not I know some of these packages that are used, at least I can follow it, right? And that did a lot for me. And of course I piggybacked off of my data analytics and data science knowledge, but it got me very, very far. And to your point, yeah, there are some amazing resources out there. And just like you said, I don't think there's ever been an easier time to learn something, right? Right before this talk, we were talking about other tech revolutions that took place in the past. Invention of the automobile. We talked about seamstresses and elevator operators and lamppost lighters, so on and so forth. Back in the day, let's like you were saying before our chat, if you were a blacksmith who needed to fix either horseshoes and carriage wheels, etc., right? Something like a car's invention would have been a problem for you, because now you got to learn this new trade. However, now pop open your computer, your laptop, or your phone, and the tutorial's right there in front of you, right? So it's a really, really unique time to both have a revolution take place and learn something new. You know?
Totally, totally. It's fun times, but and as we were discussing, right, you need to keep upscaling, right? Um, I'm sure some blacksmiths built nail factories back then, doing bulk manufacturing. So, and many were left behind doing something else. And there's no shortage of skilled blacksmiths even now. I see some
Mhm.
YouTube videos where people are making knives, swords, and tools because they like doing their stuff, and people are paying hundreds of dollars for that stuff. Now that's the artistic stuff for me. That something so well, you've honed that to an art, and then you're taking this to the next level. It's the same way for photographers. I know a lot of landscape photographers or fine art photographers who are doing really well, but they didn't complain about how film destroyed everything. You got to move on to the next phase, which
Mm.
was digital, and then understand what the drawbacks was. Yes, initial digital cameras lacked in dynamic range and stuff, but once those sensors improved, things improved, and it's never been a better time for photography too.
Now it's in your pocket. Now that camera is in your pocket. You know.
Even phones, for that matter. I started out with this Olympus compact camera way back in 2004. I had a film camera before that, but with digital It was a small camera, and even the compact camera industry was done in thanks to the advent of mobile phones, right? Everyone has a mobile now, and you don't really need a compact camera. Maybe you need a mirrorless or something for the for vlogging or dynamic range or for core photography, but your phone does it all.
Your phone does all of it. In the next, let's say 5 to 10 years, how do you see the landscape changing? Not just with generative AI, but in AI in general.
That's such a tricky question. It's a
Hmm.
fun question. I read that. I had a conversation with a friend who's deep into development. He owns a software company, and one of his friends is doing some AI stuff. And he was like, even 3 years ago, we couldn't have imagined that LLMs would take the worldwide storm, or you could just think and imagine stuff happening just by typing in prompts, and you could get video out. No one imagined that was happening just a few years ago. So 5 years in this AI Gen age is too difficult to predict. But I think we'll see better and better models. I hope we get more VRAM in our graphics cards. That's all I'm
Oh,
asking for.
amen to that. Yes.
But yeah, I think LLMs are going to remain the same. They're going to hallucinate. I know so many people are talking about different implementations and technological ML implementations that can give better results, because this is just one aspect of doing things. So let's see. 5 years should see more acceptance of AI,
Mhm.
because companies want to do AI, but from what I've been saying, a lot of benchmarks or adoption papers, not many companies are able to adopt AI as they want. And again, the problem isn't with the companies themselves; it's at the level of AI that we are at, and that's again where consulting comes in to help a lot of these companies.
Hmm. Very, very interesting. Again, I'm going to piggyback off of that really, really quick. In my opinion, the biggest advantage of this, wave of AI and this new revolution in technology is empowering people with skills and knowledge that they never would have had otherwise, right? So, for example, I can't draw to save my life, a stick figure at best, but now, I've got these tools that'll take something that's in my head and now I can visualize it, right? But let's extrapolate that. That can go to coding. Now I can build an MVP for myself. That can go to, let's say there's a really specific, piece of law that I need to know. Or let's say I need someone to bounce an idea off of, right? Now I've got the tools to actually go and build something, right? Which I've done, by the way, video games. I've never built a video
Yep.
game in my life before, stuff for medical diagnosis. So now there all of a sudden there's this empowerment people can have, right? But not just people, maybe that's even governments, groups, so on and so forth. So how do you see AI, Gen AI in particular, pushing that front, now empowering those who otherwise didn't have the skills?
I mean, I'm in the same boat as you, right? Because I can do some basic drawing, but I can't be a painter. And Gen AI helps me, do these. I love fantasy art, right? But I couldn't paint, and it was a dream. But then again, what Gen AI does is takes my prompt and spits out an image. I might need a few iterations and stuff before I like it. It's never been easier to imagine, so to say. I think that's the right term. It's never been as easy to imagine and then create what you are imagining. Be it a game as you are doing, our friend Jesus, for example, has also built a game all through AI. So all these open AI tools, many of them are open source, some of them are closed source. So you can definitely go ahead and do those without knowing anything about that field.
Mm.
Again, I mean, I do disagree about a few things. I mean, not do disagree with you, but for example, when people think they'll become doctors thanks to AI, you
Oh yeah,
can't. A
yeah,
so always take these things with a pinch of salt,
sure.
because it's not always going to be accurate. You as a data science might recognize that the code that's being spit out by the AI is wrong at times, but a layman like me wouldn't, for example, because I don't know coding. So even if AI says, okay, when you press spacebar, this thingy is going to jump over the fence, it might, but the code might all be wrong for that. But you got to keep awareness. You got to have awareness about what the AI tool is giving you, uh, because it might not always be what you're asking for. So
Hmm.
that's a caveat. But apart from that, anyone can be so empowered to. It's like, think of this: you got the whole world's knowledge in a nutshell. If you download one of those open LLMs and just run it on your computer or phone, even without the internet, it's like no one ever had this knowledge before. If you were in ancient times, you could be the oracle of Delphi or something.
You
You
could.
could say. yeah, man, take this route for fever and do this and do that. And generals would come to you for strategy and say, Alexander did this, Julius Caesar did that. So this is how you should plan your battle. And, you know, that's the knowledge you have right now at the tips of your fingers. So, yeah.
Again, fantastic answer, which leads me to another one. An argument I hear quite a lot is because this thing is so knowledgeable, right? Let's say the LLMs, and it's in your phone, for example. People are actually going to get less smart because now you're not thinking for yourself. Do you think that's true? I have my own opinion, but I'd love to hear yours.
I don't really like giving opinions on LinkedIn and stuff, but I'll say that we've been overall people are being dumped down thanks to technology. I
Okay.
see few people adopting technology and making it more suitable to human usage. But then again, it's social media as a whole. Ever since Facebook started, you saw multiple kinds of people. Some people, you could relate with. Other people you wanted to stay away from. And I think you recognize your crowd. For example, when we spoke, in the crowd that I am in, for example, some really smart people, and I know you keep picking those people, to people who know their stuff. And the world's going to be the world. People are people, so you can't expect someone to do something the same way that you would. So it's all about managing those expectations.
Hmm.
And as far as AI is concerned, I think it's going to dumb down people even more. But
Okay.
that's a sad reality.
Okay.
Ever since the mobile phone and everything came out, right? You see all these walking zombies on the street just
You
looking at
do.
their phones. And I mean, it's not it's just ingrained behavior now. It's a behavioral change that's needed, because I know there have been studies in the EU probably, or even in the US, that said that mobile phones are taking a big toll on kids' health, their mental
And
health.
psychology.
And yeah, so those are things that need to be addressed at a broader level, and AI might contribute to still more dumbing down, and that's what we really need to address.
Beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. I'll sound my opinion on this one. Um, AI for me, yeah, I guess more specifically Gen AI for me, it's actually made me better. It's made me think more. It's made me think clearer. It has made me code more than I ever coded before. It's made me play more music than I've ever played before. Right? That one, the latter one, within reason. But I played, deeper, and I think more now with these tools in my hand. So it's actually made me better. However, having said that, you know, I'm getting older now, and I remember a time before I was a kid, before the internet even was a main thing, right? I didn't have a cell phone in my hands till I was at least 18 years old, and when I did, it was those touch buttons. So, I was speaking to Ken Newton not too long ago, and we said these powerful tools, you need to learn how to use your head first, before you take on these really powerful tools,
Right.
right? So now it becomes a question of discipline, basically. Learn how to discipline your mind before you have these really powerful tools and potentially weapons in your hand.
I love that. But that's the essence of what I said as well, right? I
Mhm.
wasn't talking about me. I was talking about people in general, right?
Right,
When
right,
I
right.
when I think of people like you, or the people in our group, Daniel or Michael, or Jesus, or anyone else, they're disciplined, right? We want to use this technology for good, and we keep upskilling and learning new things thanks to this technology. As I
Mhm.
said, I didn't know Python 2 years ago, but I had to learn how to use. I still don't know Python. I don't know coding, but I know how to troubleshoot. For example, if you got CUDA errors, I can troubleshoot those by
Exactly.
reading and finding out, hey, I need to install this
Yep.
library.
Yep.
So yeah, you got to learn those things.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's again, just like most things, it's all about the user. It's all about how you use it. It's all about how your brain is working. And if you are trained in a way to not go for the easiest solution, this is going to be a very, very powerful tool for you.
And that's what the problem is, right? We know these are easy solutions, but we understand these are easy solutions. But when people don't understand that and just use those solutions as a crutch for all of their problems, it's going to be more problem.
Mhm. Well, with that said, we're both fathers to young children. Would you allow your children to use these tools at such a young age?
Yes.
You would. Okay.
Yes. So here's the thing. I know I shouldn't be putting this out in public, but my son's turning 15, and I just gave him an old used mobile phone.
Okay.
So at the age of 15, because I recognized way back, yeah, he can use the laptop and everything, but it's all monitored. I know what he's running, and it's fine to give kids that liberty to do things they want. But mobile phones are really, really dangerous till you got the amount of maturity you need to use these things. I mean, I'm only talking about children. With
Mhm.
AI, it's kind of very easy if you're using things like ChatGPT, because a lot of the dangerous things are still filtered out
True.
thanks to their filters.
We have guardrails. That's true.
So, so what we need to tell our children is about what not to feed the AI. In fact, Daniel Ryman made an awesome post about this today, and I share the same sentiment that never feed any private data into AIs. That is, don't feed in your passwords, your security details, your documents or company documents and stuff like that. All of that should never be put into an AI, because you never know if it's going to go ahead and take that and train it into some other model. So be careful about what you put out there. But apart from that, for the learning experience, it's pretty good. My son will come up and ask me questions about things about space or something, and I won't know the answer. And I'll say, look this up on YouTube. There's this channel. And it's the same with AI. He can easily type that question into Copilot and get an answer right there. So I think this is a powerful tool when you want to help a child learn and educate themselves.
Hmm. Hmm. How do you think we strike that balance, not just with children, but even general public, to learn both, to use both, their heads and their discipline, as well as this amazing tech?
So Daniel said this before. I've said this before. Arno Selhorst, he's not in the Discord, but he's really connected to us. He's a good friend. Also talks about this. It's by people like us and the circles that we have, bringing broader awareness. And the main word there is critical thinking. There's a lack of critical thinking
Right.
these days, and we need to make people understand the dangers of the technology as well as how they can use technology to their benefit. For example, I don't put out pictures of celebrities or stuff. I mean, maybe I might have done a couple of them on my computer, but I know it's not the legal reason. That's not the thing.
Hmm.
But it's about the ethical reason, right? Unless you got someone's permission, you shouldn't really be doing stuff without their permission. So it's
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
so I could very easily make a likeness of Brad Pitt or someone and then put it on the internet and animate it and stuff.
And
But
get your
I don't have
views
that
and clicks.
you can farm clicks that way and people will, oh wow, nice, but is that the right thing to do is what you need to think about.
Yeah,
So I'm perfectly fine with having morphing my face and doing stuff with that. Or my friends, for example, I could ask them, hey Beck, or hey Jesus, I'm going to put your face on this.
sure.
Fine. But where you don't have permission, just fire up stable diffusion, make a fake face and keep animating that.
Do you think then it should be
I've
the
done that.
norm? Yeah, yeah, no, of course, of course. No, I mean,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. I even ask for permission before I tag people on LinkedIn. Um,
We'll talk about that's a funny one. So,
do you think then it should be the norm as do you think then it should be the norm as education is moving forward to first learn about the ethics of AI and what this can do to you and the social impact it can have again before young children get their hands on this thing?
but it's all related to um, critical thinking and a societal factor.
Mm.
Cultures can differ, right? So across cultures, what's happened with Facebook, Meta, and way back, remember when we had Orkut, and even before that, there was Yahoo Messenger. So that was cool. I mean, those were the innocent days of the web,
Right.
where you could actually make some good friends. I mean, LinkedIn is the same thing. I made some good friends through LinkedIn, but what happens is you see the best behavior and the worst behavior. So when I see, uh, by worst behavior, I don't mean uh, it's about the societal aspect when youngsters put themselves out there, recording themselves in, weird um, positions or weird schools of thought and weird arguments. And so once something is on there, it's going to stay forever because
Hmm.
it's on the internet.
Hmm.
Some people do this for virality, yet others do this for attention, yet others do this just because that's the way they are. And it's kind of YouTube, Meta, and everyone started this. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people started these, um, you know, this contest of being or getting viral so that there would be a source of income or that you'd be famous or something. And that also spilled over to TikTok. And TikTok is kind of, I mean, TikTok's banned in India, but obviously you can see those videos anywhere, be it on Reddit or elsewhere.
Or YouTube,
So,
whatever. Yeah.
so critical thinking, what matters is how you behave, how you adapt socially, how you find the right people to be around. what is common sense, for example, it's not so common anymore. So all of these things need to be imparted to people, especially youngsters, at an early age, and then they can start using these tools. When I started the internet way back, um, we still had geocities. I'm not sure if you remember those. So
GeoCities, the
domain,
internet, the domain, yeah, the browser, browser.
everything was
Yeah,
on
yeah,
geocities,
yeah,
and
yeah,
people
yeah.
had those flashy shiny pages. I think I had one too. But anyway, so it was just Yahoo the search engine and geocities, and
Right.
Google still came by later.
Oh, Google was way
But
later. Yeah,
at the same time, there was this innocence on that new web, that people were more friendly, more approachable, and you could weed out the crazies or the weirdos or the creeps, because societal behavior hadn't adapted back then to what the internet was. Now it's never been easier to fake an identity and allow all of these pervs online. It could be on Reddit, or it could be on TikTok or something. So it's so children don't realize that it's not they're just not exposing themselves to their own age group. There are many adults who might be misusing their data. So it's important for us to tell our kids that, hey,
hmm.
this is the difference between this and this, and that's what you got to think about for the future. And it's not just that one thing, it's about consent as well, right? You'll see recordings of people everywhere without their consent, and um, I think we are missing this as a courtesy, as a form of good behavior, that, hey, whatever happened to asking before doing things. For example, you just said, hey, I don't even tag people without asking, and I was smiling at that, because tagging is fine. I tag so many of my friends, but you got to know people before you
Sure,
tag them randomly.
sure.
That's the fun part. But agreed, that's permissive. That's getting permission and permissive behavior. How do I get permission from someone? How do I you know be with someone on that level, be friends with someone, or be acquaintances with someone on a level where are they're willing to let down their guard enough to trust me? But
Yeah,
that kind of fades away with a bunch of things that's happening out there. And I feel that AI is going to only increase this unless we keep teaching people how to avoid or stop doing these things that are not. Remember that controversy that someone posted some NSFW stuff about Taylor Swift, for
yeah,
example. That
yeah,
was
yeah.
a
Mhm.
and one
That was a
person,
big
one
blow to the open source community too, by the way.
so one creep that does that harms a bunch of people, because
Hmm.
we would never do such a thing, because we are grounded and we don't think like that. There are many others who do, and that's
Yeah,
also one of the dangers of these things.
it's very, very unfortunate. And again, like I was saying, that was a blow to the open source community too. The whole Taylor Swift fiasco. Well, on that note, and another important question I want to ask you is, as we were talking before, I'm decently new to social media. For the most part, I had, I guess, ignored it, you could say, right? Until somewhat recently. Um, and so before me being more active on LinkedIn, the data analytics space, the data science space was pretty small. People for the most part knew each other, and we were kind of these weird, nerdy kids who collected your data. And people would be like, "Hey, what are you doing with my stuff?" Right? And then I come back to social media. I start getting more active, and now everybody's talking about AI. Everybody's talking about things like machine learning. And before, like I said, nobody cared about the space. Well, very few people cared about the space. It was a pretty niche group, right? So now there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of just chatter and a lot of noise that, in my opinion, shouldn't be there. And by the way, for the record, to everybody who's watching, I am not, heaven's gift to data sciences. I am not the best coder out there. I am not, the the savior of data analytics and data sciences. But I've been in the industry and again, enough to know that there's probably too much noise out there. How do we, not just kids, but how do we as adults filter that noise and go to the people that actually know what they're talking about?
I mean, that's kind of a tricky question, and it's a double-edged sword, right?
Hmm.
Because like recognizes like, as we said earlier when we spoke about. So I'll recognize someone who knows their stuff, maybe in stable diffusion. I won't recognize if someone's talking about LLMs and transformers. And I would probably take that at face value. If someone's saying, "Oh, you can do blah 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 with transformers," and like, yeah, good for you. But so it would take a data scientist like you to recognize that person, for example. But the thing is, and I hate using the term, with the downfall of a lot of crypto, the people who were peddling crypto also shifted to AI, just because AI became big in the space. But that is not the only thing. A lot of influencers also saw that AI is a great way to make a quick buck with some courses. Learn prompt engineering here. So, learn. I'm the best prompt engineer ever. So,
Quote unquote, yeah.
I mean, I am obviously. You should learn from me. But anyway, it's
And
I'm probably but so being a LinkedIn influencer is also a skill set, right? I think I should write that in my profile.
you should.
Um, Heavens no, I should be kicked out from LinkedIn if I ever did that. But I know I've seen a lot of influencers, and fine, someone's trying to make a living out of doing this. It's short-term revenue, and maybe they get consultations and stuff. But as you said, it's not core AI, and I blame not blame. I mean, with the advent of Chat GPT, um, people started picking up on that and saw that there would be people who would want to learn this stuff, and they said, "Hey, this is the easiest way to get that revenue." That's where things headed.
Yeah, no, and again, I think you were onto something big there with prompt engineering, these prompt engineering courses. And again, I don't want to downplay anybody who's making a living. And yes, there's an art to
Yeah,
prompt
I'm not.
engineering. And yes, there's a skill, an art to prompt engineering. But again, it's for the most part, it's hey, experiment, try things, fail a lot, right? And then let's see if you need this course or not.
But that's where the problem is, right? When I see people within our circles who are, and there are so many of our friends and other people who I see who are actually doing Comfy UI or Automatic 1111
Mm,
or Forge or Focus or anything, but they've gone to the trouble of installing those applications and learning about how the technology
yeah,
works, or at least try and understand what these things or what these settings do.
right, right. And
But
not
for
just
so many people, sorry, go on.
no, please go ahead. But for so many people,
It's just typing in a prompt into Midjourney or DALI and getting the result and posting that, and then portraying yourself as a prompt artist, which is, I mean, I wouldn't say you have the right to share your prompts and everything, and train people how to do that, but that does not make you an AI expert. I'm not an AI expert, by
I'm
the
not an
way.
AI
I
expert.
don't
Yeah.
exactly. So, and I will never say that because I know there's brilliant people around me that I've spoken to, Eric Hartford or Anthony Alcaraz or Ralph uh, Sir Messes or David Knickerbocker. All of these brilliant people who know their stuff. They are the smart people in this field,
Hmm.
not me.
Hmm.
What I'm good at is my spaces. That's consulting, that's project management, and I can consult companies on AI technology and what to implement. That's my core skill. But I won't say that I'm an AI expert because no, that's not who
Yeah,
I am.
and that's such a loaded phrase, AI expert. Well, what does that mean? Are you an expert in Gen AI? Are you an expert in computer vision? Are you an expert in natural language processing? Like, what AI are you? And that's another thing that caught my attention. You just reminded me. Now, Gen AI is AI. Well, Gen AI
Exactly.
is a fraction of AI, right? So no, you put it wonderfully. You put it wonderfully there. Yeah, AI expert. What's an expert, right?
I mean, any
Um,
sort of expert for that matter, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Beyond AI, everyone loves putting an expert in their um, title, and I'm always like, if you stop learning and if you become an expert, then what are you going to learn next?
Hmm. 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 Yeah, do you even ever want to call yourself an expert, even if you are an expert, right? One more thing that I just remembered also, people who took the time to download Automatic 1111 or Comfy UI or Focus or so on and so forth, right? Yeah, and those are the type of people, by the way, I also find they take the time to learn things like what's a sampling method, what's a learning rate, right? What's a CFG scale, so on and so forth. How does a negative prompt know that it's a negative prompt? And just popping open that hood just a little bit will, I think, will take you so far in this field. And if anything, just like you said, if you learn those skills to dig and learn, now you can be a consultant that teaches people how to do this, how to fish, or create solutions for them, right? Which is, I think,
And
is
I
one of the
love
more
it.
wonderful things about this place.
And I love what you said here. And I'm only going to talk about the CFG scale.
Mhm.
So Luca Tisler and was it Neck Any JC? Both had a LinkedIn Live a few weeks earlier, and both were talking about the CFG scale, and both were, is a smaller CFG scale more adherent to the prompt? Or and
Huh,
I knew that answer, and I wrote that in. I said, the smaller the CFG, the less it will be closer to your prompt, and
right.
the higher the CFG, the closer it will be to your prompt, but not always, because when you go over a CFG of 20, um, chances are that you're going to burn the image. But again,
Probably, yeah.
that's
It all
knowledge that
depends
you
on the
learn
model
over
too.
2 years. obviously. I mean, but that's things that you learn after working with these things for 2 years. So it's like that.
Yeah, just banging your head against it and then sit down at 9 a.m. and you go to bed at 4 a.m. just because you were stuck on that one thing.
Gosh,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that. There have been so many times where I struggled with these things.
Well, as we wrap up, what do you think in today's world are the main core skills somebody should just research and learn to get ready for the future?
Um, Again, it's a very difficult um, question, right? Here's why. And I'm going to talk about the education system in India is still based off rote learning, right? Kids are still made to learn and memorize things, and in a way, it's good. But many of these things, especially in their secondary years and in college, aren't going to matter in the new world because I see this has been happening with the advent of advanced computing and these AI tech that's coming up. That you don't really need those skill sets. If you want to specialize in something, yes, you do need that. But general skills are going to be more important than ever before. Not general degrees, probably, because um, I did something called a Bachelor of Commerce, which everyone else in India does. I mean, I'm joking. There are several people who do that. And then, then you're stuck with a mid-range, low-end job for years. And unless you keep upskilling, you don't get anywhere. And this is what it always boils down to. The tech is moving so fast that when it comes to the technical space, I would say at least a basic course in software engineering or machine learning will help greatly. I mean, if this is the space you want to go to, because having a base clear is never going to harm you, regardless of what anyone says. To understand the code that the computer churns out, you'll still need to understand the layer. To build something, you'll still need to understand all those basics. To be a project manager, you still need to know management basics, and to manage people, and you still need to know those things. To be a technical manager, you'll need to know those technical skills. So yeah, that's not going to go away anytime soon.
Hmm.
But AI is going to augment these things.
Hmm. Hmm. For a layman, somebody who maybe, let's say, is not going to that computer science route or the machine learning route, what tools would you suggest that they at least have a good basic understanding of how it works, how to use it, so they can be prepared for, let's say, this new job world that's coming up in the next few years?
You know, I had this conversation around 25 years ago with someone,
Okay.
something of the same thing. You know what happened? I was working with this company, and we had Microsoft Word and Excel back then.
Mhm.
With It was Windows 95, and I would advise people to start learning Word and Excel because I knew this was the next thing.
Look at you. All right.
So, and now these are the same tools that you need to learn. Now everyone knows Word and Excel. Word and Excel is taught in schools and colleges, and even kids know how to use Word. Excel maybe not. It's just probably you and me. The rest of the world hates Excel. Okay, the world's built on Excel. I'm
Well,
kidding.
that makes sense.
So
Exactly right.
Excel's fun. Don't hate on Excel.
No,
It's
not at all.
fun. Not you. I mean, people hate.
Right.
So uh, it's funny though. But my thought is that keep upskilling. At least do a few basic generative AI and AI courses, because next, everyone's going to ask you to use Copilot, and then the least you need to know is how to interact with the system. That's
Hmm.
probably the next iteration. So the existing tools won't all go away, but companies are going to force tools down your throat. For example, Microsoft has integrated this into when you start the online web version of Word. Hey, can I help you write something with AI? And Google's doing the same thing now. If I open up Gmail, hey man, can I help you write an email? No, thanks, man. Let me use my brain. But
On that last topic, you were talking about companies will have you use set tools. Maybe it's Copilot, maybe it's some kind of an image diffuser, right? Um, one of the last things I want to ask you is, do you think all companies need AI, or should you concentrate on AI if it's actually a part of your core competency?
everyone should learn how to use the tools, right? But as for companies needing AI, that's an entirely different thing. Many companies need AI implementations, but AI isn't all there yet. It's still a lot of hype, regardless of what companies try to tell us. And I'm a big fan of AI, but still, I'll tell companies that are concerned, you don't really need AI. Maybe you can use it for your knowledge base and info retrieval. Maybe you can use it for your chatbot, but apart from that, what use is AI to you? So And this is the same thing that I see with companies who want to pivot to AI. What's the purpose? If you let go of your core competency and then go to AI, but you are not an AI company, then you're going to fail. It's just short term VC money that you're going to get, but at long term, and I see this happen with a few companies that I won't name, but there were several tools that were used for spell checking and writing and helping you write and this and that and Chrome extensions and all of this ecosystem came out when GPT-5 was out, not GPT, Chat GPT. So before Chat GPT, there was the OpenAI Playground. I used that
Yeah.
before, where you could just access any of those older, the Da Vinci model or something, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
use their API. And this is what all of these companies were based on, and they got all their valuations from there. But they weren't core AI companies. They were just using OpenAI's technology to leverage what they were doing. And then what's happened now is that every big company, from OpenAI to Google to Microsoft to Facebook or whatever it is, have their own AI implementation of chat tools and this tool and spelling tools and whatever it is. So, and no one's going to pay those companies a subscription.
Hmm. Hmm. Wise words as usual. Are we still there? Did I? There we go. You froze for a
Yeah,
second. You froze for a second.
you did too. I wasn't sure what happened.
Wise words as
Thank you,
usual.
sir.
Aamir, how do people get a hold of you? And where can we find you?
I'm there on LinkedIn all the time. So, I mean, I wasn't for a bit, but hey, someone's got to take a break from AI. But LinkedIn is where it is at. And, just reach out and we'll talk.
Sir, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure
Same
we'll
thing back.
I'm sure we'll chat again. I'm sure again we'll talk about just where this world is going and what AI is doing, and we'll come up with something crazy, some crazy comfy UI workflow one more time. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you. And thank you for giving me this time.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time. We'll talk soon.